So welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about Embrace the Abyss by Friedrich Nietzsche. In this video, we're gonna try to break down some of the key ideas from this book. So if you've never heard of Friedrich Nietzsche before or his concept of the abyss, then this video is gonna be for you. But if you are familiar with Nietzsche's work, then there will be something new in here for you as well. Alright, so let's begin. So first off, what is Embrace the Abyss? Well, it's actually a mistranslation. The actual German title is Zarathustra, and that is an ancient Persian name that roughly translates into possessing a shining strength. This is the second book in what is called the Untimely Meditations, and Friedrich Nietzsche wrote these books between 1874 and 1876. Now, Nietzsche was trying to get away from writing academic philosophy, right? He wanted to write more creatively, so he started writing these books, which are not technical philosophical treatises, but they have a lot of the same ideas that are in his larger philosophical system. So he uses fictional characters, dialogue, poetry. It's a lot more creative than his other work, but again, still has those same philosophical themes. And in this book, the main character, Zarathustra, goes up into the mountains and he finds this dwarf who lives at the bottom of a well. And when he hears Zarathustra talking all this profound stuff, the dwarf starts yelling at him, and essentially he says, "Hey, shut up. You're scaring me because your ideas are too much for me." And so Zarathustra descends into the abyss of this well to go talk to this dwarf. And the entire book is them talking back and forth. And so in a sense, the book is named after this deep hole that they're talking about. It's called the abyss. Now, what is the abyss? Well, the abyss is a metaphor for despair. It's where all of the discomforted people go. They feel uncomfortable with life, so they go to the abyss. And the idea is that there is a certain type of person who cannot endure life as challenges, and so they retreat into themselves. They kind of become introverted, and they end up confronting their own nothingness. And what is that nothingness? Well, it's our finitude. We are finite creatures. We are limited. We are weak. We have strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately we will die. And so when we confront our own finitude, we can feel nothing but despair. So the abyss is really a metaphor for the feeling of despair. And so anyone who goes into the abyss is filled with this overwhelming feeling of hopelessness. So the abyss is always there. But sometimes we don't want to go into it. Right now, a lot of us are living through a really stressful time. There's a lot going on in the world, and it's easy to start feeling hopeless, right? You turn on the news and you see all the problems in the world. You see all the horrible things happening, and you feel like you're just one little person, and there is nothing you can do to make a difference. So it's easy to retreat into the abyss. Well, Nietzsche's not having it. He's not allowing Zarathustra to just go into the abyss and embrace the despair. What does he say instead? He says, no, you have to come out of the abyss and you have to overcome it. In fact, Nietzsche says that the only way to overcome the feelings of despair and hopelessness is to affirm life. That is what the Übermensch is. The Übermensch is the person who affirms life, who embraces the light, who gets out of the abyss. The abyss is darkness, right? So you got the darkness down here, and that's where everyone who is hopeless goes. But Nietzsche says that's not the way to go. Instead, you have to embrace the light. You have to embrace life. You have to overcome the feelings of despair. So how do we do that? Well, Nietzsche says we have to stop complaining, right? Stop whining. Stop pitying ourselves. That's what the abyss wants. It wants us to feel sorry for ourselves, to feel this sense of despair. But if we keep embracing that, if we keep affirming that, then we are lost. So instead, we have to affirm life. We have to say yes to life. Nietzsche famously says that we have to love our fate, whatever happens in our lives. We have to love it. We have to embrace it. We have to dance with it, right? So instead of just focusing on the negatives and allowing ourselves to go into the abyss, we have to affirm life. Now, Nietzsche says there are 3 ways that we usually try to escape the abyss, right? We try to avoid thinking about it altogether. But that doesn't work because it's always there. Then we try to deny it, and that doesn't work either because that's not honest, right? We have to acknowledge that life is difficult, that there is suffering, that there is pain, that things are going to happen that we don't like. If we deny that, then we're being dishonest. So then what is the 3rd way? Well, the 3rd way is to resign ourselves to the abyss, and that is to accept it, to say, you know what, this is my fate and there's nothing I can do about it, so I might as well just embrace it. But Nietzsche is not satisfied with this answer either, right? Because he says if we truly love life, then we don't just resign ourselves to our fate. Instead, we rise above it. And this is the idea of the Übermensch, that the Übermensch is able to rise above his or her fate. It's not that they don't experience the same things that we do. They experience the same pain. They experience the same sorrow, but they are able to rise above it. Now, Nietzsche doesn't tell us how to do this, right? That's the thing. He tells us that we have to affirm life, but he doesn't really give us any practical advice on how to do that. And that's why he's been so influential to so many different types of people. Whether you're a nihilist, a fascist, an existentialist, someone who loves God, someone who doesn't believe in God, someone who's gay, straight, whatever. Nietzsche's ideas are appealing to a wide variety of people because he doesn't give practical advice on how to live. Instead, he gives us this general framework, this concept of the abyss and the Übermensch, and then it's up to us to figure out how to apply it to our everyday lives. So Nietzsche really wants us to think deeply about our relationship to life. How are we responding to the difficulties that it throws at us? Are we embracing it? Are we affirming it? Or are we running away from it? Are we denying it? Are we wallowing in our own despair? Nietzsche thought that this was a very important question for us to ask ourselves, and he believed that the answer to this question is the answer to life, right? This is the meaning of life. This is what we should all strive for. Nietzsche also thought that we need to stop blaming others for our problems. He thought that we tend to look for someone to blame when things go wrong in our lives. We look for someone to blame for our mistakes, our failures. But Nietzsche says this is not the way to go. Instead, we need to take responsibility for our actions, for our thoughts, for our lives. This is the only way that we can truly be free. According to Nietzsche, when we blame others for our problems, then we are giving away our power, right? We are submitting ourselves to the will of another. But when we take responsibility for our actions, then we are affirming ourselves. We are affirming our own will. And this is the only way to be truly free. So Nietzsche's ideas are pretty intense, right? But they're also pretty simple. They're pretty simple to understand, but they're extremely difficult to apply to our everyday lives. But Nietzsche was not saying that it's easy to do this, right? He knew that it was going to be difficult. That's why he said that the Übermensch is rare, that it's difficult to be this affirming, life-loving person. But he thought that it was possible, that if we really tried, if we really loved life, then we could do it. We could embrace the light. We could overcome our own despair. All right, that's all I got. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. The idea of embrace the abyss is rooted in Nietzsche's reflections on existence, particularly his metaphor of gazing into the abyss from beyond good and evil and related works. For Nietzsche, the abyss symbolizes the vast, unsettling reality of life without guaranteed meaning, absolute morality, or divine order, a raw confrontation with the unknown, chaos, and the void at the heart of existence. It represents the terrifying freedom that comes when one realizes there are no ultimate truths handed down from above, no cosmic safety net, and that all meaning must be created rather than discovered. To embrace the abyss is to accept this condition fully, without retreating into comforting illusions, dogmas, or false certainties. Nietzsche saw many people, when confronted with the abyss, either turning away in fear or constructing rigid belief systems to avoid its implications. In contrast, the courageous individual, the one on the path to becoming the Übermensch, looks into the abyss and allows its presence to strip away inherited illusions. This is not an act of despair, but one of liberation. By acknowledging that life has no preordained purpose, one gains the radical freedom to create one's own values and live authentically.